let's start our discussion regarding this chapter. Our first chapter for our finals. As we near the end of this academic year, I want to take a moment to acknowledge all of your hard work and dedication to our class. Lalo na last midterms, di ba? So, we can't deny naman we have all exerted our efforts. Today, we'll be discussing this first chapter of our finals, which is an important milestone to our journey towards the academic excellence in our subject, science, technology, and society. So in this chapter, it will serve as a foundation of our understanding about our human rights. Okay, so let's start. Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Okay, let's talk about the times where our human rights were being established. Imagine dati we live in a world where human rights is not yet established. Ang hirap gumalaw. You don't know what your rights are. So let's talk about it. Human rights in the face of scientific and technological advancement are critical factors in one's journey toward eudaimonia or the good life. So we have discussed this eudaimonia during our last lessons in the good life of Aristotle. Exercising the right to accept or reject, minimize or maximize, and evaluate and decide on the scope and function of science and technology indicates human flourishing in science and technology. Protecting the well-being and upholding the dignity of the human person must be at the core of continued scientific and technological progress and development, and this is the focus of human right-based approach to science, technology, and development. Okay, let's talk about this. Human rights are an essential part of our society. Do you agree? As they ensure that every individual is treated with dignity and respect. Lalo na tayo na aware sa rights natin. We demand respect when it regards to our dignity. Regardless of our race, regardless of our religion, our gender, or any other characteristics. Having human rights means that we are entitled to certain freedoms, such as the freedom of expression, the freedom of religion, and the freedom to live without discrimination or persecution. Okay? However, the sad reality is that not everyone in the world enjoys these fundamental rights. So, pag hindi ka aware sa human rights mo, hindi mo siya fully ma-exercise. Bakit? Because we live in an unfair world. We cannot deny that. Many people around the world still face discrimination, oppression, and even violence simply because of who they are or what they believe. This is a stark reminder that the struggle for human rights is an ongoing process that requires constant attention and effort. Hindi lang ako, hindi lang ikaw, lahat tayo. It is a collaborative effort to implement our human rights. It is important to note that human rights are not just an abstract concept, but they have practical implications for our daily lives. For example, having the right to freedom of expression means that we can speak our minds and voice our opinions without fear of reprisal. Yung hindi tayo takot ma-judge. Lalo na sa mga social platforms natin, di ba? We express our rights. Minsan nga nag-over-expression na tayo eh. That's why you can observe na medyo toxic na talaga ang social platforms, di ba? And sometimes to detox talaga nagde-deactivate ako. Kasi not everything you see on social media is right. But it is an expression of your freedom to speak or to share your knowledge. It means that we can hold our leaders accountable and demand that they act in our best interest, di ba? Higing platform na natin siya to voice out. Lalo na yung mag-demand tayo for our leaders, di ba? Political views, di ba? Nagiging expression na rin natin ang social platforms natin. Moreover, having human rights also means that we have responsibilities, di ba? We must respect the rights of others and ensure that we do not infringe upon their freedoms, of course. Kasi it doesn't mean naman na you have the freedom to freedom of speech tapos you will discriminate others, di ba? That's not how you practice your freedom of speech. We must also work to promote human rights and advocate, of course, for those who may not have a voice. Kaya nga tayo merong social platform. Lalo na ngayon, ang dali na lang mag-reach out, di ba, to everybody. In conclusion to this, having human rights is crucial to living in a just and fair society. We must continue to fight for the recognition and protection of these human rights, both at home and even here in school. So let's strive towards a world that where everybody or every individual is treated with dignity and respect, and where human rights are upheld and valued by all. Okay? Let's talk about S. Rami Mukherjee. So he is a senior lecturer in political theory and the history of religions at the Paris Institute of Political Studies. Explained the human rights-based approach to science, technology, and develop as follows. Number 1, he seeks to place a concern for human rights at the heart of how the international community engages with urgent global challenges. And then, he puts the international human rights entitlements and claims of the people or the right holders and the corresponding obligations of the state, the duty bearer, in the center of the national development debate. And of course, he clarifies the purpose of capacity development. So Mukherjee is the General Secretary of the French Society for Bohemian Studies. Next. So this is a significant date and the establishment of our human rights. December 10, 1948. Here, the United Nations General Assembly proclaimed the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, or our UDHR, on December 10, 1948 as the global standard of fundamental human rights for universal recognition and protection. Therefore, one's worth is due to being human. During this date, December 10, 1948, which is a significant date in the history of human rights as it marks the adoption of the UDHR, Nations General Assembly. The UDHR is a milestone, again, to document that outlines the basic rights and freedoms that are inherent to all human beings. It was created in response to the atrocities committed during World War II and the need for a global commitment to human rights. Kasi lalo na nung World War II, naalala nyo ba yung mga kwento ng mga lola't lola natin na ang daming pinapatay using violence talaga, and mga babae, they are raped during the World War II. Diba? And we can also watch some documentaries online na talagang masyadong nasantabi yung human rights natin during World War II. Human rights consist of 30 articles that affirm the dignity and worth of every human being and establish the rights to which every person is entitled. So we will tackle this one by one mamaya. Okay? So this adaptation of UDHR was a significant achievement in the global struggle for human rights and has served as a universal standard for human rights. Human dignity. Ano ba to? Ano ba to human dignity na to? So it is an ultimate core value of our existence. Once this is recognized, we become more progressive. Bakit? Because we know how important our dignity is. And we never want to tarnish our own dignity. Diba? Let me tell you several reasons why human dignity is important. I can tell you 3 things, okay, that will describe or that will tell the importance of having human dignity. First, of course, it is fundamental aspect of human rights for us to protect our own dignity or others' dignity. The recognition of human dignity underpins the concept of equal rights and equal treatment under the law. It also serves as a guiding principle for ethical and moral behavior towards others. Okay? On how you will respect each other. It can be a moral basis. Second, human dignity is a necessary condition for social cohesion and peaceful coexistence. Okay? So, we can coexist peacefully when we exercise our human dignity. When people are treated with dignity, they are more likely to feel valued and respected. Sino ba naman ang ayaw matrato ng tama, di ba? We can foster a sense of belonging and, of course, willingness to cooperate with others. And lastly, I can say human dignity is essential for individuals' well-being and self-respect. When people are treated with dignity, they are more likely to have a positive self-image and a sense of purpose and meaning in our lives. Conversely, when people are denied dignity, they can suffer from feelings of shame, humiliation, and worthlessness. Diba? Pagka hindi ka natrato ng tama, feeling mo, hindi ka deserving. Feeling mo, hindi ka worth it. Diba? In short, human dignity is important because it is a fundamental aspect of human rights, a necessary condition for social cohesion, and essential for individuals' well-being and self-respect. Yun lang yun. Diba? So, these are the 30 UDHR articles I was talking about kanina. So, the UDHR is composed of these 30 articles which outline the inalienable rights needed to live a good life. This includes the following. Article 1. Article 1 says all human beings are born free and equal and should be treated the same way. So, how do we explain this? For example, many countries have implemented laws and policies to promote equality and combat discrimination. These laws and policies are designed to ensure that every person has equal access to education, healthcare, employment, and other opportunities regardless of their background. In addition, many organizations and individuals around the world work to raise awareness of the importance of treating every person with respect and dignity. This includes efforts to challenge harmful and stereotypes, promote cultural understanding, foster a sense of shared humanity. By upholding the principles of Article 1, we can create a world where every person is valued, respected, and able to reach their full potential. Okay? So, pinanganak kang merong equal rights to your neighbor or to kung sino man yung katabi mo sa labor room o sa hospital bed nung pinanganak ka. Pare-pares lang kayo. 'Di ba? Kaya nga tayo pinanganak lahat na hubad. Because we came to the earth, we came here in the earth na wala tayong dala. Okay? Anong dala natin? Human rights. Our own human rights. Pinanganak tayong meron na yun. Diba? Established na yun. Article 2. Everyone can claim their rights regardless of sex, race, language, religion, social standing, etc. Okay? For example, of this exercising of this human right. In many countries, laws protect the right to freedom of religion and prohibit discrimination on the basis of religion or belief. These laws ensure that individuals are free to practice their own religion and their own belief without fear of harassment and violence. Many organizations and individuals work to promote tolerance and understanding between different religions and beliefs, fostering a sense of mutual respect and cooperation. So by upholding the principles of Article 2, we can create a world where every person is free to exercise their rights and freedoms without fear of discrimination or persecution based on our race, our color, our sex, our language, religion, and any other status. Okay? So, pantay-pantay tayo lahat, regardless of our gender. Okay? And Article 3, everyone has the right to life and to live in freedom and safety. Example of Article 3 in action would be the protection of refugees and asylum seekers. So, many people around the world are forced to flee their homes due to war, persecution, or other forms of violence. These individuals are often at risk of harm and need protection to ensure our safety or their safety and well-being. So, for example, many countries have established refugee settlement programs, right? Lalo na sa mga bansang hanggang ngayon ay may gera, di ba? So, every country has our refugee settlement and asylum. So, these programs offer a lifetime to individuals who have been displaced from their homes and may be at risk of violence or harm. Ito yung mga tumakas sa bansa nila para maligtas sila. Diba? It happens in North Korea. There are refugees from North Korea na tinutulungan sa Russia. Diba kasi parang ang escape route nila minsan is Russia. So, kung mapapansin nyo, yung mga takas sa North Korea, they go to Russia, China, o kaya sa South Korea. And there are human rights that protects them. Okay? And this is how we exercise our Article 3. So, many organizations and individuals work to promote the rights and welfare of refugees and asylum seekers. So, this advocates their protection and working to address the root causes of displacement, kung bakit sila tumakas. Okay? By upholding the principles of this article, we can create a world, of course, wherein we can find or seek freedom and safety. There are these law-abiding countries that still exercise this. Kasi mayroong tayong mga bansa na like North Korea, diba? They are so many refugees or mga pugante dun sa bansa nila that seeks freedom and safety to other countries. Okay? So, Article 4. No one has the right to treat you as a slave, nor should you enslave anyone. So, wala na dapat slavery ngayon. Kasi dati, di ba, if you remember, ang bayad sa utang ay buhay. Pero ngayon, of course, because of our UDHR, hindi na siya pinapractice. An example of this Article 4 in action would be the fight against human trafficking. Di ba? Napakatalamak yan dito sa Pilipinas. Human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery in which individuals are forced, coerced, or deceived into labor or sexual exploitation. Lalo na yung mga OFW natin na naghahanap lang naman ng decent work outside the country. And this is a violation of human rights and undermines the dignity and worth of individuals. For example, many countries have implemented laws and policies to combat human trafficking and protect the victims of this crime. Lalo-lalo na dito sa atin, di ba? Ang OWA natin, nakikipagtulungan sa iba't ibang embahada natin sa iba't ibang bansa para maprotektahan yung mga kababayan natin na biktima ng human trafficking. These laws and policies are designed to prevent trafficking, prosecute traffickers, and provide support and assistance to survivors. So, many organizations and individuals work to raise awareness for this trafficking, advocating for the rights of welfare of the victims, and working to address the root causes of this crime too. Just like the other 1, 2, 3 articles we have discussed. Okay, number 5. No one has the right to torture you. Okay, so may mga bansa pa rin naman na they practice torturing, di ba? Parang sa Middle East, they practice torturing individuals na nahuhuli nilang nagnanakaw, di ba? They cut the hands of the thieves in their country. So there are still countries in the Middle East that still does that. Okay? An example of Article 5 in action would be the protection of prisoners' rights. Okay? So ito yung sinasabi ko na may mga bansa pa nga na gumagawa ng ganun sa mga prisoners nila, lalo na yung mga thieves. Prisoners are a vulnerable population and may be at risk of torture or other forms of abuse. So it is essential to protect the human rights of prisoners to ensure that they are treated with dignity and respect. For examples, there are countries that have implemented laws and policies to ensure that prisoners are treated humanely and are not subjected to torture or other forms of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Example of this is yung mga rapists. Kasi sila, usually, pag napunta sila sa kulungan, binubugbog talaga sila. And it still happens today. And there are laws that protect those prisoner kahit na napaka inhuman nila, di ba? These laws and policies are included with measures to prevent and investigate allegations of abuse, provide medical care and support, and ensure that these prisoners have access to legal representation. Okay? They ensure na meron silang abogado. Okay? Next, Article 6. You should be legally protected in the same way everywhere like anyone else. You have the right to be protected wherever you are. This Article 6, example of this in action would be the fight against discrimination. Discrimination can take many forms and can prevent individuals from being recognized as full persons before the law. So, for example, there are countries that have implemented laws and policies to prevent discrimination and promote equality. These laws and policies may include measurements to prevent discrimination based on factors such as, of course, again, race, gender, religion, and your sexual orientation or disability. Okay, so kahit ano ka man, you are protected by the law. You are provided legal counsel. Libre yan in every country. Kahit dito sa Pilipinas, we have our public attorneys dyan sa Regional Trial Court, RTC, Regional Trial Court. Dyan lang sa likod ng gate natin sa likod ng school. Yun. They provide free consultations with our public attorneys. Okay? So, Article 7, the law is the same for everyone and should be applied in the same manner for all. Our promotion of equal rights and opportunities for all individuals is regardless of their identity or status. So, discrimination can prevent individuals from accessing basic rights and opportunities such as education, employment, or healthcare. For example, many countries have implemented laws and policies to promote equal treatment and opportunities for all individuals, kahit saan ka magpunta. These laws and policies may include measures to prevent discrimination and promote affirmative action, such as quotas or other measures to promote representation for participation by marginalized groups or yung mga less fortunate. And of course, Article 8. You have the right to obtain legal help and access the justice system when your rights are not respected. So in this article, everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for acts of violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or by law. So an example of this scenario is where this Article 8 would come to play is when an individual's right have been violated and then they seek redress through the legal system. Lalo na kung falsely accused sila. Even if there are hard evidence, they still have the right to have an attorney. In such a scenario, the individual can file a petition in court and receive a fair and impartial hearing. So the court can then examine the evidence presented and provide a judgment on whether or not the individual's right have been violated. So if the court finds in favor of the individual, they can order appropriate remedies to be taken, such as the individual's release from custody or compensation for damages incurred. Or kaya di ba nga pag nanalo ka sa kaso mo, napatunayan mong not guilty ka, may natatanggap ka pang compensation. Ganun din pag nanalo ka sa kaso mo na pipinail mo, di ba, mabibigyan kayo ng compensation or danyos. Di ba? Okay? So, Article 9. No one can arrest or detain you arbitrarily or send you away from your country unjustly. So, nobody can arrest you arbitrarily. Ano ba sabi arbitrarily na yan? Yun yung walang pahintulot or walang notice, without prior notice. So, an example of this scenario where this Article 9 would come into play is when a person is arrested or detained without due process or legal reason. For instance, if a person is arrested without warrant or without committing any crime, their rights under Article 9 have been violated. So in such scenario, the individual has the right to challenge the legality of their arrest or detention and seek legal remedy. They can file a petition in court, and the court can examine the evidence presented and provide a judgment on the legality of the arrest or detention. If the court then finds that the arrest or detention was unlawful, it can order the individual's release under Article 9. So, in this Article 9, papasok yung Miranda rights natin. Ano yung Miranda rights? Sinong may alam dito sa Miranda rights? Diba? Yung Miranda rights, siya yung sinasabi sa atin or binabasa sa atin ng mga police or ng mga officers natin, law enforcers natin, bago tayo huliin. Ito yung ano yun? Yung you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do could be used against you in court. You have the right to have an attorney. So, if you don't have attorney, the state will provide one for you. Basta ganun siya. Okay? And this Miranda rights, dapat basahin siya sa'yo bago ka huliin. So, kung bigla ka nalang pinosas, dinala sa station, nang walang pasabi, nang walang pagbasa ng Miranda rights, then you can sue that officer na gumawa sa'yo nun. And it is applicable, hindi lang sa Pilipinas. It is applicable worldwide. Okay? So, if you are arrested arbitrarily without reading your Miranda rights for you, and then, you can sue that, or you can complain. You can file a complaint. Okay? So, Article 10, trials should be public and tried in a fair manner by an impartial and independent tribunal. Okay? So, kung mapapansin nyo, merong mga trials talaga na ini-air publicly. And of course, you can also visit sa ating RTC during trials. Kahit sino ay pwedeng manood. Unless manggugulo ka. Syempre, hindi yun pwede. 'Di ba? Example of this is nung nag-undergo ng trial si Johnny Depp at saka si Amber Heard. 'Di ba? The trial was done publicly. And of course, you can find videos of it sa YouTube or in any platform. Talagang ini-air siya publicly. An example scenario also where Article 10 would come into play is in the criminal justice system. If a person is accused to a crime, they have the right to fair trial in a public court where their guilt or innocence will be determined impartially. In such scenario, the accused person has the right to legal representation and to present evidence in their defense. Of course, with their attorney. And the trial must be conducted in a fair and impartial manner. And the accused must be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So, bago ka sabihin na guilty ka, lahat yan accusation pa lang. Okay? Pag hindi ka pa natatrial sa korte, lahat ng bintang sa'yo ay accusation pa lang. Okay? You are called to be a suspect pa lang. Okay? Not an offender pa. Okay? Suspect ka pa lang. If the accused is found guilty, or if you are found guilty, they have the right to appeal the verdict. Okay? So, another example would be in civil cases where individuals or groups are seeking legal remedies for the rights or obligations. In such cases, the parties involved have the right to fair and public hearing where their case can be heard impartially and decided based on the facts presented. Next, Article 11. You are considered innocent until it can be proved that you are guilty according to the law. If accused of a crime, you have the right to a defense. Okay, so ganon. So in this article, a perfect example of this is when everyone is charged with a penal offense has the right to presume. Okay, and Article 11 would come into play when a person is accused of a crime and is undergoing trial. In such a scenario, the person is presumed innocent until proven guilty, and burden of proof lies with the prosecution to prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And the accused person has the right to a fair and public trial where they can present evidence and defend themselves against the charges. They have the right to legal representation and to cross-examine the witness. They also have the right to remain silent and not incriminate themselves para lumala yung kaso. If the accused is found guilty, of course, you have the right to appeal the verdict and have the case reviewed by a higher court. So, kahit guilty na sila, they can still appeal a non-guilty. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, di ba, kahit na after mabigyan ng verdict yung mga nadedemanda, they still has the right to appeal na non-guilty sila or the non-guilty plea. Diba? So, this is the role of our Article 11. Article 12, you have the right to protection if someone tried to harm your good name, enter your home without permission, or interfere with your correspondence. Okay, so in this article, no one shall be subjected to arbitrary interference with their own privacy, family, home, or correspondence. So, an example scenario where Article 12 would come into play is when a person's privacy is violated. For instance, if someone's private communication or personal information is accessed without their consent, their right to privacy has been violated. Wiretapping, diba? Yung parang ganun, wiretapping, or yung privacy breach nyo sa social medias nyo, pwede yung ipasok dito sa Article 12. Pag yung nahak kayo ganun. Another scenario would be when a person is harassed or defamed in public or online. In such cases, the right to a good reputation and honor has been attacked, and they have the right to protection under the law. Additionally, if a person's home is invaded without proper legal authority, or their family is subjected to arbitrary interference or harm, their rights under Article 12 is violated also. Okay? So, Article 13, you have the right to live or move within your country or your own country, and you should be able to return. So, in this article, it is said that we can move places. We can change our residence. Diba? Kaya nga mayroon tayong tinatawag na migration. Nagmamigrate tayo sa ibang lugar. May tinatawag tayong application for citizenship. Diba? An example of this scenario is that when a person is restricted from leaving their country or is denied the right to return to their home country. For instance, if the government imposes travel restrictions or denies a passport, okay, pag dinenay siya ng passport, their right to freedom of movement has been violated. So, pag hindi ka binigyan ng passport, na hindi ka naman persona non grata or whatsoever, that is a violation of your freedom of movement. Another scenario would be when a person is forced to flee their home country due to conflict or persecution or other reasons and is unable to return to their home country. In such cases, their right to return to their country has been violated. So, you have the right to return to your own country. So, moreover, if a person is forced to relocate within their country or is denied the right to choose where they want to live, their rights under Article 13 have been violated also. Okay, so Article 14. If you are persecuted at home, you have the right to seek protection in another country. A perfect example of this is yung naalala nyo ba yung Chong sisters? Yun, sila yung pinatay. Diba? Tapos yung pumatay, allegedly, is found guilty. Kahit na ang dami-daming ebidensya na nagtuturo na siya ay inosente. Imagine, during that time that the Chong sisters was killed, nasa Manila sila, that happens in the province. So how come, diba? Nag-testify pa yung mga teachers nila sa school nila, which is the University of the Philippines, na during that time, tong si allegedly killer and rapist is taking up his examinations. So, merong ebidensya. May ebidensya na nag-exam siya, at may ebidensya na nasa school siya ng araw na yon. Ang pinapalabas, kaya natatalo siya sa kaso, is that lumibat daw siya ng gabi. And how was he able to do that, diba? He was just taking up his exams, tapos nag-private plane siya. Kasi there are no records in the domestic flights na nagpunta nga siya, na sumakay nga siya ng aeroplano to go to the province that fast. Diba? So, bakit ko in-example siya dito sa Article 13? Kasi after that trial, nag-viral ulit yung kaso niya. What happened is that, napanood ng ibang bansa, he is also kasi a dual citizen, Filipino citizen siya, and I can't remember yung other one niya. Basta nasa Spain siya ngayon, if I'm not mistaken. Paki-fact check. Nasa ibang lugar siya ngayon, ibang country siya ngayon, na nag-seek siya ng legal justice doon. Kasi syempre, bulok nga yung justice system natin sa Pilipinas, sumingi siya ng tulong doon sa ibang bansa. What happened is that, kinuha siya dito from the Philippines, pero nakakulong pa rin siya sa ibang bansa. Nakakulong siya doon, pero nakakalabas siya. Nakakulong ka pero you can have time outside or to serve outside para mag-serve ng sentence mo. And then, pinagaan nila yung sentence niya. Nakapag-aral pa nga siya dun eh. Nakapag-graduate siya as chef or culinary whatsoever. Basta, nag-seek siya ng legal counsel sa labas. You can find that the story. May movie nga yun, ang gumanap sila Donalyn Bartolome. You can find the story online. You can search about it. Article 15. You have the right to belong to a country and have nationality. Of course! Siyempre, hindi naman pwede na you don't belong to anything, any country. Hindi yun pwede. Okay? You have the right to belong somewhere else. Wow. You have the right to belong somewhere else. Diba? In this Article 15, everyone has the right to a nationality. Okay? So, no one shall be arbitrarily deprived of their own nationality or denied the right to change their nationality. Kasi pwede mo namang palitan, pwede ka magpalit ng nationality mo. Di ba? Lalo na pag you move to another country. Di ba? An example scenario where Article 15 would come into play is if a person is born in a country but is not recognized as a citizen by that country, or any other country, their right to a nationality has been violated. Another scenario would be when a person is deprived of their nationality due to discriminatory laws or policies. For example, if a government revokes the citizenship of a certain ethnic or religious groups, their right to nationality has been violated. Bakit? You cannot deny someone their citizenship because they belong to certain ethnic or religious group. That is violation of your Article 15 human rights. So next, Article 16. Men and women have the right to marry when they are legally able without limits due to race, nationality, or religion. Families should be protected by the government and the justice system. Okay? So you have the right to marry whoever you love. And of course, yan. And of course, this when men and women are in their full age or legal age, without any limitation due to race, nationality, or religion, have the right to marry and to find a family. They are entitled to equal rights as to marriage, during marriage, and its dissolution. An example scenario is when a person is denied the right to marry or find a family due to discrimination based on their race, nationality, or religion again. Okay? For instance, if a person is prevented from marrying or starting a family because of their ethnicity or religion, their right to marry and find a family has been violated. Did you get that? Okay, example. If a woman is not granted the same rights as her husband during their marriage, or if she is not granted equal rights during divorce proceedings, her rights under Article 16 is also violated. Okay, so if a person is subjected to forced marriage naman, or child marriage naman, their rights under Article 16 is also violated. So, those arranged marriage is a violation of this article. Okay, so hindi na also yung arranged marriage ngayon. Kasi violation na nga siya ng Article 16. Article 17. You have the right to own things. No one has the right to illegally take them from you. Okay, so you have the right to property. Okay, so lahat tayo, we have the right to property. Hindi nila pwedeng sabihin na you can own a land or you can own a house because it is your basic human right to own a property. And an example scenario of Article 17 is when a person's property is seized or confiscated by the government without due process or compensation. For instance, if a person's land is taken by the government for a public project without any compensation, lalo na yung mga daan, di ba? Dahil sa build, maraming palayan ang kinuha. So, pag hindi ka nabayaran, that is a violation of your Article 17. So, if it is forcibly taken from you, then that is a violation of your Article 17, the right to own a property. Okay, so nabayaran na ba lahat ng palayan na dadaanan ng build project? Ang narinig ko, hindi pa. So, let's move on with Article 18. Everyone has the right to freely manifest their religion, to change it, and to practice it alone or with others. Everyone has the right to freedom of thought, conscience, and religion. This right includes freedom to change their or your religion or belief, and freedom to choose your own religion, either alone or in a community with others, and in public or in private. Or you can manifest your religion or belief in teaching, practice, worship, and observance. An example scenario to this is when a person is discriminated against or persecuted based on their religious beliefs. For instance, if a person is not allowed to practice their religion or subjected to harassment or violence because of your religious beliefs, your right to freedom of religion has been violated. So we have the right to belong to a religious group. You have the right to change your religion. So pag pinigilan ka ng church mo to change your religion, then that is a violation of your Article 18. Okay? So for example, if a person faces imprisonment or death for converting into a different religion, then your right to freedom of religion has been violated. For example, if a person is not allowed to wear religious clothing, like yung sa mga Muslim people, if pinabawalan silang gamitin yung abaya nila, then that is a perfect example of violating your human rights, your Article 18. Article 19. Everyone has the right to think and say what they like and no one should forbid it. So, para lang siyang the right to freedom of expression. Okay? So, you have the right to express what you think. Without, of course naman, harming other people. Diba? For an example scenario of this is when, for example, you are a journalist or an individual that is punished or silenced for expressing your opinions or ideas. For instance, if you are a journalist that is arrested, that is harassed, or that is killed for reporting on government corruption or human rights violations, then that is a clearly violation of your Article 19. Okay? So, another scenario, of course, is when an individual is being censored or restricted from accessing information or expressing their opinions online. Okay? So, if you are being oppressed or of your freedom to express, as you are clearly being violated of your Article 19. Article 20, you have the right to organize and participate in peaceful meetings. So, kaya nga tayo dito sa school, di ba? We have our own organizations. Kayong mga estudyante, you have your own organizations because you have the right to organize and participate in peaceful meetings. Peaceful peaceful. Hindi yung mga meetings na nanggugulo. Okay, so everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. So an example of this is when the government restricts or prohibits individuals from gathering in public spaces, like yung mga rally, to express their opinions or to protest peacefully. Peacefully, For instance, if a government bans public demonstration or these rallies, or it uses force to disperse peaceful protesters, hindi yung nanggugulo, hindi yung nananakit. The right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association has been violated. Okay? So another scenario is that individuals are not allowed to associate freely with others or to form organizations without interference, then they are violated. For example, if a government restricts or bans the formation of a political party or civil society organizations, or it punishes individuals for participating in such groups, then their right to freedom of association has been violated. Article 21. Everyone has the right to take part in their country's political affairs and equal access to public service. Governments should be voted for regularly. So, lahat na ba tayo dito ay nag-exercise ng ating right to vote? So, everyone has the right to take part in the government of his country, to belong in the government. Tayo yung gobyerno, guys. Tayo yung gobyerno. We belong in it. We are the government. So, directly or through freely chosen representatives or politicians. Okay? An example scenario, of course, is when the government restricts or denies individual the right to participate in political processes, including voting in elections, running for office. Kaya sino-sino nakakapag-apply for presidency, di ba? Kung sino-sino. Naalala si Rastaman, di ba? Nakapag-apply siya for presidential elections. Kasi that is our right. For instance, if a government denies certain groups or pinigilan siya, and then he is being denied of his Article 21. So, such as minorities or women, the right to vote or to participate in political activities, of course, the right to take part in the government of their own country has been violated. Pag pinigilan siya, dahil babae siya, tumakbo or bumoto, then that is a clear violation of your Article 21. Article 22. Let's move on with Article 22. Society should help individuals to freely develop and make the most of all advantages offered in their country. So in this article, everyone, as a member of society, has the right to social security and is entitled to realization through national effort and international cooperation and in accordance with the organization and resources of each state, of the economic, social and cultural rights, indispensable of his dignity and the free development of personality. So an example of this scenario is when an individual is unable to access basic necessities such as food, shelter, healthcare, and education due to poverty, or dahil wala kang pera, dahil naghihirap ka, then that is considered an economic barrier to you. If a government fails to provide social security and ensure that every individual has access to basic economic, social, and cultural rights, their rights under 22 has been violated. Next, Article 23. Everyone has the right to work in a just, favorable conditions and be free to choose your work with a salary that allows you to live and support family. Everyone should receive equal pay for equal work. Okay, so itong law na to, itong article na to, parang ang hirap niya i-achieve, no? Lalo na rin sa Pilipinas, lalo na sa probinsya that we have our minimum wage, diba? In this article kasi, everyone has the right to work, to free choice of employment, to just and favorable conditions or favorable sahod or work and protection against unemployment. So everyone without any discrimination has the right to equal pay for equal work. Nangyayari ba to? Di, no? Dito sa Pilipinas, hindi. For example na lang, ako, I have to work double jobs for me to provide my basic needs. Kasi kung isa lang trabaho ko dito, and I am a healthcare professional by profession, I am a registered medical technologist. I've been practicing as a medtech for almost 10 years na. And then, I have to also teach here in PSU for me to provide my own needs, di ba? Kasi being a medtech alone is not giving me the amount of money that I need to provide myself security, to provide myself the needs, the basic needs that I need. Because if you work in a hospital setup or in a healthcare in a healthcare institution, if you're a healthcare professional here in the Philippines, hindi sapat, di ba? Mas malaki pa yung ginastos nung nag-aaral ako kaysa sa sinasahod ko. And to think na I work for a government hospital and my salary is not enough talaga. That's why I also teach in the morning. That's how I hustle myself just to provide myself, di ba? Kasi bakit? Dito sa Pilipinas, ang hirap i-achieve nitong Article 23. Sad to say na paglabas nyo sa totoong mundo after you graduate, makikita nyo talaga na ang hirap i-achieve nitong Article 23 because of poverty, because of the status of your country, because of the status of the Philippines. So, let's move on with Article 24. Each work day should not be too long and everyone has the right to rest and take regular paid holidays. Okay? So, ano ang normal na oras ng working natin? Dapat, if you are employed in a regular setup, then you should work 8 hours a day. Tama ba? Yes, 8 hours a day. So, bakit ma'am ikaw nagtatrabaho ko gabi tapos umaga? Akala ko ba bawal yun? Bawal if I was employed in the same institution. And it is my choice to work evening and morning. Diba? And my work in the hospital naman, it's not every day. So, it's every other day naman. So, mga 3 to 4 times a week. Yan. So, I am not violating my right to Article 24. I'm not violating my right to have a work that is in a favorable condition or whatsoever, di ba? Everyone has the right to rest and leisure, including reasonable limitation of working hours into 8 hours and periodic holidays with pay, di ba? There are still institutions that practice no work, no pay during holidays. So that is a sad truth. And you are going to be exposed to this sad truth pag graduate nyo. You'll see. You'll see that these articles, 23, 24, and whatsoever about employment is so hard to be achieved. Diba? And it is said that Article 24 says that an employee that is overworked and denied their right to rest and leisure time in such an institution, the employer is violating their right to reasonable limitation of working hours and periodic holidays with pay, as guaranteed by Article 24 of the UDHR. And of course, Article 25. You have the right to have what you need so that you and your family do not go hungry, homeless, or fall ill. Kaya nga tayo may mga government hospitals, right? Diba? Because we are provided our basic needs by the government. We should be rather provided our basic needs when it comes to hospitalization or other rights or other needs, basic needs. And everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of himself or of his family, including food, clothing, housing, medical care, and necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, or other lack of livelihood in circumstances beyond this control. So an example of this scenario is when a person is unable to afford adequate food, clothing, housing, medical care, and necessary social services due to poverty again, or other circumstances beyond their control. In such a situation, the person's right to a standard living adequate for their health and well-being as guaranteed by Article 25 of the UDHR is being violated. Okay, so for instance, a family living in a slum area with inadequate access to clean water, sanitation, and healthcare may be at risk of contracting diseases and suffering from poor health due to the lack of adequate living conditions. Similarly, a person who has lost their job and has no means of support may struggle to afford basic necessities such as food and housing. And then, eto din, ang hirap i-achieve, di ba? Kasi our government should be providing this to us. But, again, we belong to a very poor country. And the duty of the government and society as a whole to ensure that everyone has access to standard living is so hard to achieve but should have been achieved according to this article. Article 26. You have the right to go to school, continue your studies as far as you wish, and learn regardless of race, religion, or country of origin. So in this article, it is said that we have the right to continue our education as much as we want. So, meron nga kaming kapitbahay noon sa Isabela na attorney na siya, engineer pa siya, doktor pa siya. So, basically, nag-aral na lang siya buong buhay niya, di ba? Because there is no law na nagsasabi na you can't continue your study. Okay, everyone has the right to education. Education shall be free, at least in the elementary and fundamental stages. Luckily for you guys, it is also free for your college, diba? Hindi lang elementary. Luckily for you guys, libre din ang tuition nyo. So, let's make the most of it. Huwag natin sayangin, no? Because, compared to other schools, maswerte na tayo kasi nasa libreng eskwelahan tayo ng college. Okay, elementary education shall be compulsory, of course, na libre. Technical and professional education shall be made generally available, and higher education shall be equally accessible to all on the basis of merit. So, kahit anumang estado mo, you have the right to study. Article 27, you have the right to share the benefits of your community, culture, arts, and sciences. Kaya tayo may mga grupo na nagpro-provide ng access to our cultural rights, di ba? And hindi lang yun. There are also groups in this society na nag-ensure that we have the freedom to participate in cultural life of the community or to enjoy the arts and to share it in a scientific advancement and, of course, enjoy its benefits. An example of this is when a person or a community is denied access to cultural, artistic, or scientific opportunities, then this could happen in some scenarios, just like when a community that has been displaced due to war or natural disasters may have lost access to their traditional cultural practices. Then, they may not have the means to participate in new cultural activities in their new location. Okay? Kunyari, binagyo sila dito sa isang lugar. Tapos, pagpunta nila sa new location nila, hindi na nila ma-practice yung dating practices nila dun sa lugar kung saan nagkaroon ng natural disaster. Okay? The government has to provide them means to practice their old culture or their old tradition. Article 28. To make sure your rights are respected, there must be an order that can protect them. This order should be, of course, again, global. Hindi lang dito sa Pilipinas to, ha? Hindi lang ito sa US. Okay? Ang basic human rights natin na proclaimed by the UDHR is globally. Everyone is entitled to a social and international order in which the rights and freedoms set forth is the declaration can be fully realized. So, an example scenario, of course, is when a society or government fails to create social and international order that allows individuals to fully enjoy their human rights. Okay? So, another is Article 29. You have duties towards the community within which your personality can fully develop. And the law should guarantee human rights. It should allow everyone to respect others and to be respected. And everyone has duties to the community in which alone and the free and full development of our personality is possible. So, an example of the scenario, again, is when a community is facing a crisis, such as a natural disaster or a public health emergency, such as COVID-19. In such situations, individuals have a duty to the community to act in ways that promote the common good. Protect vulnerable populations such as your elders and yung mga bata, and ensure that everyone has access to necessary resources and services. Diba? Kaya tayo nung COVID-19 pandemic, everyone has the duty to follow public health guidelines, public protocols such as wearing masks and practicing social distancing in order to protect themselves and ourselves from other or from the further spread of the virus. We also have the duty to take care of our own health, diba? And of course, Article 30. No one or no institution or individual should act in any way to destroy the rights enshrined in the UDHR. So this rule or this last law speaks about the entirety of the UDHR 30 articles. In this Article 30, nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying or any state, group, or person any right to engage in any activity, to perform any act aimed at the destruction of any human rights that we have tackled prior to this article. That this article also serves as a safeguard against any abuse of power and a reminder that human rights are universal and inalienable. Of course, let's go back with Mukherjee. Mukherjee listed some of the most important documents that center on a human right-based approach to science, technology, and development and their key principles. Number 1 is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, Article 27. This document affirms that everyone's right to participate in and benefit from scientific advances and be protected from scientific misuses. The right to benefits of science come under the domain of culture, so it is usually examined from a cultural rights perspective. And then UNESCO also recommended that the status of scientific researches, 1974, under Article 4, this document affirms that all advances in scientific and technological knowledge should solely be geared towards the welfare of the global citizens and calls upon member states to develop necessary protocol and policies to monitor this objective. Countries are asked to show that science and technology are integrated into policies that aim to ensure a more humane and just society. And then under UNESCO Declaration of the Use of Scientific Knowledge, 1999, under Article 33, this document states today, more than ever, science and its applications are indispensable for development. All levels of government and private sector should provide enhanced support for building up an adequate and even distributed scientific and technological capacity through appropriate education and research programs as an indispensable foundation for economic, social, cultural, and environmentally sound development. This declaration encompasses issues such as pollution-free production, efficient resource use, biodiversity protection, and brain drains. Okay, so this basic human rights is a human rights-based approach to science, technology, and development sets the parameters for the appraisal of how science and technology and development promotes human well-being. Human rights should be integral to the journey toward the ultimate good. They should guide humans not only to flourish as individual members of society, but also to assist each other in flourishing collectively as a society. Human rights are rights to sustainability. Okay? They may function as the golden mean, particularly protecting the weak, poor, and vulnerable from the deficiencies and excesses of science and technology. By imposing upon science and technology the moral and ethical duty to protect and uphold human rights, there can be more effective and sustainable approach to bridging the between poor and rich countries on both tangible and intangible aspects. Through this, human will flourish together through science and technology. So that's all. I hope we all learn from this article or from this UDHR articles, because this provides us the basic needs that we have to consider when we are considering our human dignity. 'Di ba? So, let's end the discussion here, and I'll see you on our next topic.